Hey, welcome to the Esoteric Empire. Please be sure to check out the playlist Food for Thought if you are interested in seeing little, things that go through my mind, and maybe you want to have a dialogue, or maybe you just want to hear what I'm thinking. Go ahead and check that playlist out. So today we're talking about the Strength card. I recently heard a song, and it took me about 3 or 4 times to listen to it back to back to really, I like the song and it's on its own, but for some reason I listened to it, and the third time I listened to it, at the very end, it clicked. I had like an epiphany. And I realized what the Strength card is about within tarot. As you can see, the picture that I have here, this is one of the many depictions that I've seen of the Strength card. They pretty much always have the same concept. It's always a woman with the lion or a tiger or a puma. I've seen that before too. Basically just a big cat, a wild cat, and the woman is seemingly peaceful with it, or has tamed it, or is comfortable with it. Now, if you look at the original tarot decks, it does show a person beating the lion. And it's usually a male that's doing that, but that's a different concept. And I think that's a whole nother video to talk about. But when we're talking about the majority of what the Strength card means, I also think that it reflects the times that we're in now, being that the divine feminine is moving towards a more equal position towards the divine masculine. That's a whole nother video as well. So anyways, so when I looked at the card, I wanted to find one that very clearly depicts what the Strength card means to me and what I understood from the song that I listened to. And I'm going to leave the song down in the description box if you want to check it out. Shout out to the person that sent that song to me. So the Strength card, right? The two emotions that we have, love and fear. That's it. If we're looking at it from that perspective. Love and fear. So if you're looking at those two as opposites, you can't do both at the same time. Some would argue and say that you could, but just for this understanding, you can't do both, right? So if you're afraid of something, that means you don't love it. That means you're not fully being immersed in the moment and being engulfed in the frequency of love, which a lot of times means being vulnerable, feeling safe, feeling comfortable. You can't feel those things if you're afraid, right? I don't think there's been a time that anyone has been afraid but felt comfortable at the same time. So when you have separation of those two, it means that in order to conquer fear or something that you're afraid of, you have to do the opposite, which is love. So it doesn't mean that you have to literally love that entity or love that situation to not be afraid of it, but it does mean in order to get over it, you have to embrace it as if you love it. So they say that with phobias, right? So if you're afraid of spiders and you go to a therapist or whatever, and they tell you, hey, there's this therapeutic method that I think you have to go through. You have to embrace the spiders. They'll say that whole thing. So spiritually, it means in order to get over something, you have to find a way to conquer it, which is where that saying, love conquers all, that's where that saying comes from on an esoteric understanding. Love conquers all. So in order to conquer something, you have to be above it. You have to love it. You know what I mean? So with that being said, the Strength card is a clear depiction of being courageous, which translates into strength for a lot of people. And in order to really have that duality, you have to be fearless. That's what being courageous is about, being fearless. So being able to love conquers all of what you fear. Because when you go into it having righteous feelings, when you go into things having a mindset of pureness and not reacting as a fearful person, because a lot of times when people are scared, they do things that they would never do if they were in a normal headspace, right? So going back to the Strength card depiction, you see the woman comforting the lion. The lion represents courage, strength, bold, confidence. her giving love, her bringing and immersing herself with that lion means that she's tamed her fear, because most people are scared of a lion. Nobody would walk up to a lion and hug it. But understanding what love is, how it conquers everything else. It's kind of like that love thy neighbor thing. And I'm not saying that you should do this in all situations. I'm just saying, if you pull this card, this is what it means. In order to overcome fear or things that you're afraid to move past, you have to love it. You have to love yourself sometimes. Sometimes it's not about the situation, but it's about loving you through that situation, forgiving yourself through that situation. No matter what it is, you'll understand what I'm saying, depending on what you're going through. The Strength card is about embodying courage to love. In order to have courage means you have to be fearless. In order to be fearless, which is love. And when you bind those two things together, it's really the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which is strength. So having the courage to push through any fears you have, whether it's about love, commitment, phobias that you may have, trauma, moving through it, conquering it with love, with the vibration and frequency of love, mind you, because I think a lot of us have different understanding of what love is. But the frequency of the heart chakra, the frequency of being on a higher level of understanding of what love feels like for you, right? Because I don't want to make it too specific, because everyone has their own understanding of what love is. But that's basically, what I was saying. It's basically like love hard or don't love at all. If you're afraid to do something, you're not really loving it. You're in the middle. You're playing hopscotch, with love and fear. True courage comes from loving fully, 100%, giving it your all. Even if you're afraid that it's not going to go the way you think it is, or if you're afraid of the outcome, going through it all the way with pure intentions. That's love. That's courage. That's what the courage is. And then when you relate it to astrology, that's the Leo sign. That's the heart chakra. That is the sun, All of that goes into the energy of the Strength card. So you can use the Strength card for a lot of things, even if it's rituals or just, in the readings, or just, as a life lesson. Because in tarot, the major arcana, in my opinion, teaches you about life lessons that we all go through. So you can use it. So hopefully that makes sense. I really hope that I don't re-listen to this and then realize that I forgot to add certain topics that I want to put into this. But I'd be freestyling these videos, but I did want to relay this message. So thank you so much for listening. I love each and every one of you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.